When we talk about justice, we often think of human systems, courts, judges, and the laws of the land. But divine justice operates on an entirely different level. It is not bound by human limitations or legal loopholes. It is perfect, all-seeing, and all-knowing. When someone mistreats you, especially a narcissist who thrives on manipulation and deception, it might feel like they are getting away with it. You may see them smiling, succeeding, and even convincing others that they have done nothing wrong. But make no mistake, God sees everything, and His justice always prevails. It is natural to feel frustrated when someone mistreats you, especially when that person appears to prosper while you struggle with the pain they inflicted. You might wonder why God allows them to continue on their path without immediate consequences. But the truth is, God's justice does not always happen in ways we expect or on our timeline. He moves in ways that are far beyond human comprehension. He is patient, but He is also just. The person who hurt you may think they have won, but in reality, they are walking straight into a reckoning that only God can orchestrate. Throughout history and in the Bible, we see countless examples of God's justice at work. Pharaoh oppressed the Israelites for years, believing himself to be untouchable. But in time, God struck down his power and delivered his people. King Saul spent years trying to destroy David, but in the end, it was David whom God elevated. The narcissists of today operate with the same arrogance, believing they are beyond consequence. But like Pharaoh, like Saul, like every person who has ever misused their power, they will eventually face the consequences of their actions. No one outruns God. One of the most powerful aspects of God's justice is that it is often invisible at first. We want to see immediate results. We want to see the person who hurt us fall right away. But God's justice is not always a sudden lightning strike. Sometimes it is a slow unraveling. Sometimes it is a series of small events that gradually bring a person to the realization that they cannot continue their ways without consequence. This is why we must trust in Him, even when we do not see the immediate downfall of those who hurt us. In many cases, God's justice does not come in the way we expect. A narcissist may not suddenly lose everything overnight, but they will eventually be exposed. The lies they have told will come back to haunt them. The people they have manipulated will turn away from them. The false confidence they built on deception will crumble beneath them. And the most painful part for them, they will see you rise above it all. Your healing, your success, and your ability to move forward in grace will be a testament to God's justice. Sometimes God allows us to witness the downfall of those who hurt us. Other times He shields us from it because He knows it is not necessary for our healing. But rest assured, the same God who promised that the wicked will not prosper is at work in your situation. He is not blind to your suffering, and He is not ignoring your pain. He is simply preparing the perfect moment to reveal His justice. It can be difficult to let go of the desire for revenge, especially when the wounds are deep. But holding on to anger only weighs you down. When you trust that God's justice will prevail, you free yourself from the burden of needing to make things right on your own. You step into peace, knowing that He will handle what you cannot. That does not mean the pain disappears overnight. It does not mean you will forget what was done to you, but it does mean you no longer have to carry the responsibility of making sure justice is served. That is God's role, and He never fails. You may not always get to see the justice unfold with your own eyes, but you will feel it in the way God lifts you up. He will restore what was taken from you. He will strengthen you in ways you never imagined. He will bless you in the presence of those who tried to break you, and in doing so, He will prove that His justice is greater than any human system. So, if you are in a season of wondering why the person who hurt you seems to be thriving, remember this: God is not done yet. His justice is moving even when you do not see it. The narcissist who mistreated you will face what they have done, whether in this life or the next. But as for you, your focus should not be on waiting for their downfall. Instead, focus on rising, focus on healing, focus on walking in the grace that God has given you. Because the best way to prove that their actions did not break you is to keep moving forward, knowing that justice is in God's hands. When dealing with a narcissist, it is easy to fall into the trap of thinking that their actions are random, that their mistreatment of you was just an unfortunate situation, or that they didn't fully understand the pain they caused. But the truth is, narcissists know exactly what they are doing. They thrive on control, manipulation, and deception. They build their confidence on the destruction of others. And when they wrong you, they rarely feel remorse. Instead, they feel entitled to their actions, as if the pain they inflicted was justified. But what they fail to realize is that no one escapes the consequences of their actions forever. God sees everything, and when the time is right, He steps in with a justice so precise, so undeniable, that the very foundation of their deception begins to crumble. One of the biggest misconceptions people have when dealing with a narcissist is believing that because they seem to be getting away with their actions, there will be no repercussions. You might see them smiling, succeeding, gathering new people around them who believe their lies. You might hear stories of how they have moved on as if nothing ever happened. And in your heart, you may feel the frustration, the anger, the deep sense of injustice that comes when someone does wrong and appears to prosper. But the truth is, what they are experiencing is not success, it is delay. God's justice does not always strike like lightning. Sometimes it moves slowly, patiently, allowing a person every opportunity to change their ways. This is the mercy of God. He gives time, He gives warnings, He sends signs. But when a narcissist refuses to change, when they continue to deceive, manipulate, and destroy, that delay turns into their downfall. They don't see it coming because they are blinded by their arrogance. They think they have won, that they have outsmarted the situation, that they are above consequence. But what they fail to understand is that no one, no matter how powerful they believe themselves to be, can outrun God's justice. Think about the story of Haman in the Bible. Haman was a man of high position, full of pride and arrogance. He plotted against Mordecai, convinced that his power made him untouchable. He set a trap, building gallows to destroy Mordecai, thinking that his plan was foolproof. But in the end, it was Haman who was hanged on the very gallows he built. This is how God's justice works. The narcissist who mistreated you, who lied, who manipulated, who tried to break you, they are unknowingly setting up their own downfall. The very trap they set for you will be the one that catches them. What makes this justice even more powerful is that God often allows you to rise while they fall. They will see you walk into blessings they thought you would never receive. They will watch you heal in ways they never expected. And while they struggle with the weight of their own actions, you will be lifted higher, stepping into a life of purpose, strength, and restoration. This is why it is so important not to waste your time waiting for their downfall. You don't need to track their failures, keep tabs on their struggles, or concern yourself with whether they are facing consequences yet. That is not your burden to carry. When you trust that God is in control, you free yourself from the need for revenge. You step out of the role of judge and allow God to do what only He can do. There is something incredibly powerful about letting go. When you release the anger, the desire for justice on your terms, you make room for God to move in ways you never imagined. He will handle what needs to be handled. He will bring justice in His perfect timing. And when He does, it will not just be a momentary punishment, it will be a reckoning. It will be undeniable. The narcissist who mistreated you will come to see that their actions had consequences far beyond what they ever anticipated. But here is the most important thing. Your focus should not be on their downfall. Your focus should be on your rise, because that is what truly defeats a narcissist. Not their punishment, but your perseverance, the fact that they did not break you, the fact that you are still standing, the fact that you have moved forward with grace, strength, and unshakable faith. So when you start to wonder if they are facing their consequences, when you start to feel the weight of injustice pressing against you, remember this: God is at work even when you do not see it. The person who wronged you will face what they have done. But as for you, your calling is to keep moving forward. Your story is not about their downfall, It is about your victory. And that is the greatest justice of all. When you have been mistreated by a narcissist, it can feel like justice is nowhere to be found. You see them moving on as if nothing happened, continuing their lives without consequence, while you are left picking up the pieces of the damage they caused. It is frustrating, unfair, and painful. But what you must remember is that God is not blind to what they have done. He has seen every lie, every manipulation, every betrayal, and every act of cruelty. Nothing escapes His sight. And when the time is right, He will step in, not only to bring justice, but to reveal the truth in a way that no one can deny. One of the most powerful ways that God strikes karma upon a narcissist is by exposing them. Narcissists thrive on deception. They carefully construct an image, a mask, a false version of themselves that convinces others that they are kind, loving, and successful. They manipulate people into believing their lies, positioning themselves as victims while painting the ones they hurt as the villains. They are masterful at twisting the truth, making it seem as though they are innocent, while their victims are to blame. But God has a way of pulling back the curtain. He has a way of revealing who a person truly is, no matter how much they try to hide it. The Bible tells us in Luke 8:17, "For nothing is hidden that will not be disclosed, and nothing concealed that will not be known or brought out into the open." That means that all the lies, all the deceit, all the harm they caused, it will not remain hidden forever. The truth will come to light, and when it does, it will shake the very foundation they have built their lives upon. The exposure of a narcissist does not always happen in an instant. Sometimes it unfolds over time. At first, the cracks begin to show. Small inconsistencies in their story start to appear. The people who once believed in them begin to notice patterns that do not add up. Their charm, which once fooled so many, begins to wear off, and then, little by little, their carefully built facade starts to crumble. Perhaps they lose the trust of those who once supported them. Perhaps they make a mistake so big that they can no longer cover it up. Perhaps they find themselves in a situation where they can no longer manipulate their way out. And in that moment, when they are finally exposed for who they truly are, they will experience the weight of their own actions crashing down upon them. But here's the most important thing. When God exposes a narcissist, He does it in such a way that no one can deny it. The very people who once defended them, who once believed their lies, will begin to see the truth. The relationships they built on deception will start to fall apart. The power they once held over others will slip from their grasp. They will be left standing in the ruins of their own lies with nowhere to run and nowhere to hide. And while this exposure is happening, something else is unfolding. You are rising. You see, when God brings justice, He does not just punish those who have done wrong, He also restores those who have been wronged. While the narcissist is being exposed, you are being elevated. The people who doubted you, who believed the lies told about you, will begin to see the truth. They will see your strength, your resilience, and your character. They will realize that you were never the villain. You were the one who was mistreated, the one who endured, the one who overcame. This is why it is so important not to seek revenge on your own. You do not need to expose the narcissist yourself. You do not need to waste your time trying to convince others of the truth. If you keep walking in integrity, if you keep trusting God, He will take care of it. He will make sure that the truth comes out in a way that is undeniable, and when it does, it will be far more powerful than anything you could have done on your own. But what happens after the exposure? When the narcissist finally faces the truth of their own actions, how do they respond? Some will try to deny it. They will scramble to hold on to their lies, to convince people that they are still in control. Others will try to shift the blame, claiming that they are the real victims. But no matter how they respond, one thing will be clear. They are no longer in control of the narrative. Their power over others will be shattered, and they will be left to face the reality of what they have done. And as for you, you will be free, free from the weight of their deception, free from the pain of being misunderstood, free from the need to prove yourself, because the truth will have spoken for itself, and you will no longer have to carry the burden of their lies. So if you have been wronged by a narcissist, if you have been lied about, manipulated, or mistreated, take heart. God has not forgotten you. He has not overlooked what has been done. And when the time is right, He will step in. He will expose the lies, reveal the truth, and bring justice in a way that no one can deny. Your job is not to fight for that justice yourself. Your job is to keep moving forward, to keep trusting, to keep living in integrity, because when God moves, He moves in ways that leave no doubt. And when He exposes the truth, it is undeniable. When you have been mistreated by a narcissist, it can feel as if justice is elusive, as if the person who caused you so much pain will never face the consequences of their actions. You see them walking around acting as if they have done nothing wrong, while you are left dealing with the emotional wounds they inflicted. But you must remember that God is not blind to what has happened. He sees everything. He knows every word they spoke, every action they took, and every moment they manipulated and deceived. And when the time is right, He will strike with divine justice, ensuring that the narcissist faces the consequences of their actions. One of the most profound ways God strikes karma upon a narcissist is by turning the very tactics they used against others back onto them. Narcissists thrive on control. They manipulate, gaslight, and deceive to maintain their power. They use people for their own benefit, discarding them when they are no longer useful. They are experts at playing the victim while making their real victims look like the villains. They build their lives on lies, weaving intricate webs of deception to maintain their facade. But what they do not realize is that the very foundation they have built their lives upon is unstable. Lies cannot last forever. Manipulation only works for so long before the truth catches up, and when it does, it has the power to destroy everything they have worked so hard to maintain. God has a way of ensuring that people reap what they sow. Galatians 6:7 reminds us, "Do not be deceived, God cannot be mocked. A man reaps what he sows." That means the same way the narcissist caused destruction in the lives of others, destruction will come upon them. If they caused pain, they will experience pain. If they thrived on betrayal, they will be betrayed. If they sought to control others, they will find themselves in situations where they have no control. And the most painful part for them, they will have no one to blame but themselves. You may not see it happening immediately, but rest assured their actions will catch up with them. At first, it may seem like they are getting away with everything, continuing their lives without a second thought about the damage they caused. But what they do not realize is that the seeds of their own downfall have already been planted. Every lie they told, every person they deceived, every manipulative scheme they orchestrated, it all adds up, and in time it will all collapse on them. One of the most painful experiences for a narcissist is losing control. They thrive on being in control of situations, of people, of the way they are perceived. But when God steps in, He strips away that control. Suddenly, the people they once manipulated begin to see through their lies. The relationships they depended on start to fall apart. The power they once held over others begins to fade. And the worst part for them, there is nothing they can do to stop it. No amount of manipulation, no carefully crafted excuses, no lies can reverse what is happening. God has a way of ensuring that narcissists face the consequences of their actions in a way that directly impacts them where it hurts the most. Some will experience financial downfall, losing the wealth or status they once used to control others. Some will face public humiliation, their true nature being exposed for all to see. Others will suffer emotionally as they realize that they are alone, abandoned by the very people they once controlled. They will try to regain control, to manipulate their way back into power, but it will be futile. What they once relied on will no longer work. The tactics they once used will turn against them. The people they deceived will walk away, and in the end they will be left with nothing but the consequences of their own actions. But here's the key. You must not waste your energy waiting for this to happen. You do not need to check in on them to wonder if they are facing their karma. That is not your job. Your job is to heal, to move forward, to focus on your own growth. Because while God is dealing with them, He is also working on you. He is restoring what was taken from you. He is healing your heart, strengthening your spirit, and preparing you for something far greater than what you lost. When God moves, He moves in ways that leave no doubt. He ensures that justice is served in a way that is undeniable. And when that happens, you will realize that you never needed to seek revenge. You never needed to prove anything, because God was always in control, and His justice is far greater than anything you could have orchestrated on your own.